Good morning, everybody. So, Assalamu alaikum to all of you. This is lecture number 7. This is lecture number 7, and theory of the topic is theory of imitation and significance of plot. In the previous lecture, I told you about tragedy, Aristotle's definition of tragedy, and 6 elements of tragedy. We discussed these two topics in the previous lecture. Now we are discussing two more very important topics, and these are theory of imitation and significance of plot. If before starting this, I would like to ask. Only unfortunately one student has joined. I would like to ask if you have any problem, you can ask me. Theory of imitation. Now, imitation is has been given importance. Why? Because tragedy is the art of tragedy is imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of certain magnitude. So tragedy is what? Tragedy is an imitation. So that is why we have to study theory of imitation. Plato was the first to use the word imitation in connection with poetry. Plato was the first to use the word imitation in connection with poetry, but Aristotle breathed into it a new and definite meaning. Remember, Plato was the first one to use the word imitation in connection with poetry, but Aristotle is the one who brought new definition to imitation, who brought a kind of, you can say, who breathed into it a new definite meaning. After Aristotle's definition of imitation, imitation is no longer considered to be a mere act of servile copying. Aristotle, Plato said that it was imitation was an act of servile copying, simple copy, but according to Aristotle, it is considered to be an act of imaginative creation through which the poet draws his material from the phenomenal world and then makes something new out of it. What Aristotle says that it is an act of imaginative creation by which a poet does or a poet draws his takes his material from the phenomenal world. There is a world, that phenomenal world. He takes his materials or he draws his material from that one, and then he makes something new, something creative out of it. This is what he says about. This is what he says that imitation is. Common basis of all the arts. Now, what he says that imitation is the common basis of all the arts. According to Aristotle, it is the principle of imitation that unites poetry with the other fine arts. Means this is same or common in all fine arts. It is common to all fine arts. What imitation is common to all fine arts. According to Aristotle, when we want to create something new, so we must have something before us. We observe, we see, we observe that particular thing. Then after observing carefully, we create something new out of that particular thing. So imitation is the common basis of all the fine arts. Plato, according to Aristotle, equated poetry with painting. Plato ने poetry को compare किया था painting से, whereas Aristotle compared it with music. Plato said that poetry was equal or it was like painting, but Aristotle said it's like music. So after Aristotle's definition of imitation, it is no longer or it no longer remains a mere servile representation of the surface or the appearance of things, but in his theory it becomes a representation of the patience. It becomes a representation of the patient's emotions of men, which are also imitated by music. So Aristotle compares it with music, and Plato compared it with painting. So it is common. Imitation is common. It is a common thing in all the fine arts. Scope of imitation. Aristotle, by his theory, enlarged the scope of imitation. इमिटेशन का जो स्कोप उसको बहुत बड़ा कर दिया. इससे पहले इसका स्कोप इतना ज़्यादा नहीं था. Aristotle says that the poet imitates not the surface of things but the higher reality embedded within it. The poet imitates not the surface of things but he imitates the higher reality that is inside it. Since emotions are also the objects of imitation of music, poetry has close attachment or affinities with music as well. According to Aristotle, it is a mistake or it will be wrong to compare poetry with painting, as his teacher Plato did. So he is not in favor of it. He says it is wrong to compare poetry with painting. It is a mistake to compare poetry with painting as Plato did. So it is more similar to music. So according to Aristotle, poetry is more similar or akin to music. Medium and manner of imitation. So in the very first chapter of the Poetics, Aristotle क्या कहता है? Epic poetry and tragedy, comedy, also in Decembric poetry and the music of the flute and of the lyre, in most of their forms are all in their general conception modes of imitation. They all are modes of imitation. They are different from one another in three things. तीन चीज़ों में एक दूसरे से मुख्तलिफ हैं. Number one, the medium. Number two, the objects. Number three, the manner or mode of imitation. So these all arts are different in three cases, in three things. Number one, the medium. Number two, the objects, and number three, the manner of imitation or mode of imitation. Okay, about the medium of imitation, what Aristotle says, he says that the medium of the poet and the painter are different. The medium of the poet and the painter are different. One imitates through words, the second imitates through colors. So the one imitates through forms and color, and the other through language and rhythm and harmony. So poet imitates through language, rhythm, and harmony, while a painter imitates through forms and color. पेंटर जो है अपनी क्रिएटिविटी को कलर से और फॉर्म्स के जरिए क्या करता है, इमिटेट करता है. जबकि शायर जो क्या करता है, वो लैंग्वेज, रिदम और हार्मनी के जरिए अपने जो ऑब्जेक्ट्स को इमिटेट करता है. द म्यूजिशियन इमिटेट्स थ्रू रिदम एंड हार्मनी. वही चीज बता रहा है कि म्यूजिशियन भी जो है वो रिदम और हार्मनी के जरिए इमिटेट करता है. ही ऑल्सो इमिटेट्स थ्रू rhythm and harmony. It means, according to Aristotle, poetry is closer, nearer to music than painting. As Plato said that poetry is akin to painting, so he says it means that poetry is nearer to music than painting. Manner of imitation. So Aristotle said that the manner of a poet may be purely narrative, completely narrative as in the epic, or representation through action as in drama. So epic, what happens? Narration is there. There is narration and drama, like tragedy. So there is complete representation or complete uh, presentation on the stage. Thus, different kinds of poetry differ from each other in their manner of imitation. So, manner of imitation के लिहाज से there are different kinds of poetry, so they are different from each other. Remember, regarding manner of imitation, they are different from each other. Even dramatic poetry is differentiated into tragedy and comedy, or dramatic poetry को भी tragedy और comedy दो चीज़ों में क्या क्या है, differentiate किया गया है, दो इसकी एग्जाम बनाई गई है. And it imitates man as better or worse. So एक में जो है वो it imitates man as better, and in the second it imitates man as worse. Means in tragedy, imitates man better, as better and comedy imitates man as worse. So regarding manner of imitation, of course, even different kinds of poetry are different from each other in their manner of imitation. Objects of poetic imitation. Now, regarding the objects of imitation, Aristotle says that the objects of imitation are men in action. ये बहुत अहम चीज है जिसको मैं चाहूंगा आप लोग भी नोट करें. This is very important. Men in action. ये आगे भी आपको थोड़ा डिटेल में बताया जाएगा. Men in action. Let me highlight this one, if it is possible here. So I have made it bold, or I'm trying to make it bold. अगर ये हो जाता तो अच्छी बात है. So this is what you should remember. He says that the objects of imitation are men in action, and these men must be, again, let me clear it. Let me make it big. So I've made it, I've enlarged its size. So the objects of imitation are men in action, and these men must be either of a higher or lower type. Means these men can be higher or of lower type. So there should not be anyone of very high or of very low type. You will find here that it follows that we must represent men either as better than in real life or as worse or as they are. The same in painting. Then he has referred what he has given reference that Polygnotus depicted men as nobler than they are. Pauson is less noble and Dionysius drew them to life. So according to Aristotle, the poet may imitate or can imitate men as they were, or as they are, or as they ought to be. So this is what, according to Aristotle, objects of poetic imitation, men in action. He further said that imitation is not only photographic representation. According to Aristotle, imitation is not a mere photographic representation of the surface reality, of the surface thing, but it is a creative process. According to Aristotle, this imitation is a creative process because the poet selects and orders his material, and in this way he recreates reality. He selects and orders his material from the phenomenal world, and in this way he does what? He recreates reality. He can represent men better than in his real life, or he gives us a truth of an ideal or universal type. Remember, poet's mind is not tied to reality. According to Aristotle, his mind is not tied to reality. So this is what we have about theory of imitation. Now, the fourth very important thing that we should study and we should remember is significance of plot. What is plot and how important is plot? As I've already told you in the previous lecture, that plot is the most important part of a tragedy. So what is plot? According to Aristotle, tragedy is the representation of action, and action consists of incidents and events. Action should consist of incidents and events, and plot is what? It is the sequence of these incidents and events. It is the arrangements or orders of the order of this sequence and these incidents and events. If the arrangement of the or the sequence is not uh, good, then it will not be a good plot. It is better for the poet to choose a traditional story and then proceed to make out of it his own plot, according to Aristotle. Aristotle further said that the incidents which are chosen must be serious. There should not be any comic element in them. They should be serious, and they should have some importance, and not they should not be trivial. Why? Because tragedy is the imitation of an action that is serious and that should have certain magnitude. That's why there's no room, though there's no space for comic element in tragedy, and there should not be any comic scene in the plot as well. So, what is plot? Plot is the arrangement or sequence of the incidents and events in a story or in tragedy. In a tragedy. Now, about plot, what Aristotle says that the tragic plot must be a whole, complete in itself. Now, what does it mean? Must be a whole and complete itself. It means that there should be a proper beginning, proper middle, and proper end. Once again, there should be a proper beginning, proper middle, and proper end. That is called a complete plot. In modern films and dramas, we can see that there are movies which begin from the middle and then end in the end at the end. Means they had no beginning. For example, we have a very good example of a movie that is called Titanic. It began from the end, and then you'll see the middle part and then end. It has no beginning. Why? Because when it began, you'll find an old lady who tells the incident of her youth, and it is all about her that imagination. And when it ends, you will find that lady is still there, and she ends or finishes her story. So there is no beginning. Technically, there is no beginning, but there is the story begins from the end, and you'll find middle, and then it ends in the at the end. So, according to Aristotle, there must be a beginning, then there should be a middle, and then there should be an end. Now, what is beginning? According to Aristotle, the beginning is that which has nothing before but after. The beginning is that which has nothing before, there should be nothing before it, but there should be things after, there should be something after it. Similarly, you'll find here the middle is that which has something before and after both. Again, the middle is that which has both something before and after. And the end is that which has nothing after, but there is something before. So end means there is nothing after it, but there is something before it. So this is called end. So it is, according to Aristotle, it will be called a complete plot. Magnitude of plot. As regards magnitude, the plot, according to Aristotle, must have a certain length or size. The plot must have a certain length or size. Remember, length or size. A plot must have a certain length or size. It should not be too small or too large. It should not be too. The plot should not be too long. The plot should not be too short, or the plot should be neither too short nor too long. इतना छोटा भी ना हो कि सारे जो भी बताना चाह रहा राइटर या पोइट वो उसमें वो कवर ना कर पाए, और इतना भी लंबा ना हो कि शुरू जब हम आखिर में जाए शुरू का हिस्सा भूल जाएं. So the plot is something that should be of certain magnitude. इतने magnitude उसको या इतना उसका size और उसका इतना length हो कि we should remember from beginning to end every scene, every episode. Nothing should we should not forget anything. If we forget, then it means it is not a good plot. So there should be it should be of a certain magnitude. The plot the plot should be long enough to allow the process of change from happiness to misery. और याद रखिएगा, happiness to misery. This is something that we should have. From happiness to misery, initiated by the beginning to be properly and completely developed. but not too long for memory to encounter it as a whole. If it is too long, the beginning will be forgotten before the end. As I've already mentioned, if it is too long, then we will forget the beginning, and then we will have only the end in our mind. Similarly, if it is too small, its different parts will not be clearly distinguishable from each other. As in the case of living organism, तो उसमें कुछ ना कुछ missing लाजमी होगा. So magnitude of plot is also very important. Unity, again a very important factor, a very important thing that needs to be remember regarding plot is its unity. The plot may have variety, but it should have a unity. There may have variety, but it must have a unity. If there is no unity, if all the scenes, all the events are not well connected to each other, then it means, according to Aristotle, this is not a good plot, and it will not bring catharsis. That is the ultimate end or aim or purpose of a tragedy. Every event should have logical connection with the rest of the action, and none of them should be irrelevant. They should not be irrelevant. In modern plays and modern dramas or films, we can see there are many scenes, there are many events which are unnecessary. So if you remove one or two event or one or two you know scenes, so it will not affect the play. It will not affect the play, and the play will be understandable. Why? Because there is no unity of plot. They have missed unity of plot. The unity of plot does not consist in the unity of the hero. It consists in the unity of action. Action जो है वो united है एक दूसरे से, like a hero. The plot should be like an organic whole. If one of its parts is removed, the whole should be disturbed. It should be like an organic whole. कि अगर उस whole का उसका एक हिस्सा अगर मिस हो रहा है या एक हिस्सा मिस है तो सारा डिस्टर्ब होना चाहिए. If it's not like this, then it is not a well constructed plot, and there is no unity of plot in it. Then he talks about the types of plots. Regarding types of plot, he says that there are two types of plot: simple plot and complex plot. Now, what is simple plot? Simple plot means which has the story of which is known to people or audience. So audience know about the story, and we know we can easily predict the plot that it will have a happy ending. As we can see in modern plays, we normally have simple plot where we know very well about the story that it will have a happy ending. तो इससे क्या होता है कि कैथारसिस नहीं हो पाए होगा, क्योंकि हमें पता है कुछ भी हो जाए, जो कुछ भी हो आखिर में हीरो और हीरोइन जो हैं वो जो है विक्टोरियस हो जाएंगे. So according to Aristotle, there are two types of plots, simple and complex. The plots are either simple or complex for the action in real life, of which the plots are an imitation, of which show a similar distinction. So remember, in real life, normally we have what? In real life, we don't have poetic justice. In real life, normally it happens that we are punished more for the crime or for the sin we commit. So here you will find reversal of the situation and recognition. These are the terms which you should remember. Complex plot. A complex plot action is one in which the change is accompanied by such reversal or recognition. As I told you, complex plot के बारे में हमें पता नहीं होता. Anything can happen, and life is unexpected. Life is unpredictable. In life, we have very seldom we have predictable things. Otherwise, unpredictable things happen. So here you will find complex plot. According to Aristotle, complex plot is something that is successful for a that is good for a tragedy. It is something that can make tragedy successful. And here you will find reversal or recognition. These last should arise from the internal structure of the plot, so that what follows should be the necessary or probable result of the preceding action. So it makes all the difference whether any given event in a case of propter hoc or post hoc. So reversal or recognition. Reversal means there should be a change or sudden moment, or you can say, uh, something happens that changes the character's life, that changes the hero's life all of a sudden. So that is what we call rehearsal, and this is something that is needed in complex plot, and that is very important for a tragedy. So there are two types of plots. One is simple plot and second is complex plot. According to Aristotle, complex plot is best for a tragedy. And in modern plays, we normally find simple plots. That's why they don't bring the effect of catharsis. Now, importance of plot. So, according to Aristotle, plot is the soul. It is the basis or the very foundation to the majestic edifice of tragedy. It is probably the most important part of a tragedy. A tragedy is impossible without plot, but there may be one without character. This is what Aristotle says कि tragedy plot के बगैर ना मुकम्मल character के बगैर तो हो सकती है लेकिन plot अगर अच्छा नहीं होगा तो उसमें वो tragedy नहीं है. A play which has a plot artistically constructed incidents may produce a better effect. अगर plot well constructed है according to Aristotle, so it will produce great effect. It is the plot which provides the elements of emotional interest in a tragedy, and it is the plot that provides the elements of emotional interest. And this is how what we have in the end that is called catharsis. And then he says reversal of situation and the recognition of scenes. They both, which awaken and intensify tragic feeling, they are parts of the plot. They are the parts of the plot. Again, reversal of situation and the recognition of scenes. So, in short, tragedy is an imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of a certain magnitude. Aristotle has given a new definition to imitation, and this way he has given a new life to this word imitation. And he has said that imitation is a creative process. Imitation is no longer considered the act of simply copying things, but considered to be an act of imaginative creation. And by this, the poet draws his material from the phenomenal world and makes something new out of it. The objects of imitation, according to Aristotle, are men in action. So this is very important to remember that he said men in action. Men in action. Action is most important. And he said that plot is the most important part of a tragedy. He has called it the soul, life and soul of a tragedy. Aristotle said that the incident chosen should be serious and not trivial. The incidents which are chosen should be serious and should not be non-serious. The plot must have a certain magnitude. It must have complete whole, or it must be a complete. It must be complete. The plot must have a unity, and plots may be simple or complex. So the plot must be complete, or it must have a complete whole. So this is what we have about uh, theory of his theory of imitation and plot. What he says about plots or the significance of plot and what is plot. This is what we have discussed today. So in today's today we have two lectures. For the first lecture, we discussed two very important topics. Probably the most important topics: tragedy. What is tragedy and definition of tragedy, and its elements. And this second lecture, lecture number seven, I have discussed uh, theory of imitation and plot. So they all are related to each other. They all are linked to each other. If you study them properly, inshallah, you will enjoy these all the things. And if you don't study them properly, then you will face great problems. This is what I have told you from the very beginning. आगे भी आपको चीज़ें इससे रिलेटेड मिलेंगी. ज़्यादा टाइम थोड़ा लग रहा है एरिस्टोटल के पॉलिटिक्स पर. I will take one more class and then inshallah I'll start the next one. Sydney's apology for poetry. But if you do not understand what I've taught you up till now, so you will face problem in later classes. And remember, now exams will be conducted, I think, in the classroom, and that's why you have to pay more and more attention. Students are not taking things seriously, so this is not a good thing. तो मैं आप लोगों की इस तरह से अटेंडेंस भी मार्क कर रहा हूँ. सिर्फ 3 स्टूडेंट है तो मैं आपका नाम पुकारूंगा. काइंडली आप जो है दो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, आप सिर्फ अपना यस कह दीजिएगा तो आपका यहाँ पर चैट में आ जाएगा. सो आसिया निसार अहमद,
जी सर. यस सर.
परवीन अली.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. तो इस नाम को आपने जवाब दिया तो इससे क्या हुआ कि आपका जो है चैट में आ गया, एंड दिस विल बी अ रिकॉर्ड फॉर अस. अगर हमसे मांगा जाएगा तो डेफिनेटली हम इस रिकॉर्ड को दे सकेंगे फॉर अटेंडेंस, क्योंकि अब स्टूडेंट्स को इतनी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लेकिन स्टूडेंट जान के भी कुछ जो है वो क्लास अटेंड नहीं करते. दिस इज़ नॉट गुड. इफ़ यू हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम यू कैन आस्क मी प्लीज.
Sir, as said by Aristotle, that actions are more important than characters in plot or in tragedy. So, sir, when there will be character, so actions will happen. So,
Actually,
how
he
actions are more important than character?
he is showing importance. Characters, so you can also find characters in comic plays जहाँ पे एक्शन नहीं होता. एक्शन से मुराद वहाँ पे कुछ गरजदार चीज़ें होनी चाहिए. ठीक है. तो कॉमेडी के अंदर भी आपको चीज़ें मिलेंगी जिसमें कोई एक्शन नहीं होता, खामोशी से सब कुछ हो रहा होता है, मज़ाही अंदाज में हो रहा होता है. सो हियर एक्शन मीन्स दैट देयर शुड बी समथिंग significant. There should be something very, you can say, worth noticing. So that is called action. So here he is just giving importance to action by saying that there is tragedy without character but not without action. यानी कि कैरेक्टर अगर होगा और एक्शन नहीं तो ट्रेजेडी नहीं होगा, और सिर्फ अगर एक्शन होगा और कैरेक्टर की सिग्निफिकेंस ना भी हो तो फिर भी वो ट्रेजेडी कहलाएगी. तो सिर्फ अहमियत दिखाने के लिए और अहमियत बताने के लिए उसने ये जुमला बोला है. इट शोज दैट कैरेक्टर एक्शन इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट देन कैरेक्टर.
Okay, sir. Sir, is Titanic tragic movie?
Titanic actually, you can say, but as I told you that it has no complete whole. According to Greek tragedy, you'll find there are some shortcomings. For example, it is not a complete whole. ठीक है, सीरियसनेस आपको उससे मिलेगी. यू विल फाइंड दैट इट इज एन इमिटेशन ऑफ एन एक्शन. इमिटेशन भी है वो, मतलब वो आप देखेंगे उसमें फ्रॉम अ फिल्म पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू यू कैन सी दैट इन्होंने किसी रियलिटी पे बनाया, किसी की लाइफ को कॉपी किए, इमिटेट किया है. ठीक है. और फिर यू विल फाइंड सीरियसनेस ओवर देयर. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं है कि फनी और कॉमिक एलिमेंट्स आपको उसमें मिलेंगे, सीरियसनेस आपको मिलेगा. देन यू विल फाइंड ओवर देयर सर्टेन मैग्नीट्यूड भी आपको मिलेगा. बट प्रॉब्लम इज देयर. कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम? कि इट इज नॉट अ कंप्लीट होल. मीन्स इट स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द एंड एंड देन यू फाइंड मिडल एंड देन एंड. बिगिनिंग उसमें यही होता है ना कि जब वो शुरू होती है तो उसमें आप देखिएगा खातून होती है, वो अपने बारे में बता रही होती है, और जब एंड होता है तो उसमें वो खातून वहीं पर ही होती है. ठीक है. तो इट बिगिन फ्रॉम द एंड एंड इट एंड्स एट द एंड. So here it just said that it should have a proper beginning, middle, and end. That is called whole. ये चीज़ क्या है, बाकी तो उसमें चीज़ें हैं. When you complete watching it, so you have catharsis. तो आपको catharsis होता है, यानी कि आपकी feelings आपको
यार मुझे समझेगा कौन दीजिए जिरे 15 का यूनिवर्सिटी खुलन भी हूं तो पो ही छोटा ऑनलाइन क्लास में.
Yes, kindly speak in Urdu or speak in English, please.
Sir, actually it was someone else.
हाँ तो
घर की किसी की आवाज है, किसी की अम्मी बात कर रही हैं वो.
यार उनके आप लोग जब बात करें ना काइंडली अपने घर वालों से कहा करें कि थोड़ा सा खामोशी इख्तियार कर लिया करेंगे. ये सब रिकॉर्ड हो जाता है. रिकॉर्डिंग में तो आपको पता है फिर अच्छा नहीं होता ना. So kindly try your best to come to ask your parents or your siblings to stay quiet. मेरे घर है, एक कमरा है. उसी कमरे बड़ा कमरा थोड़ा सा है, उसके अंदर मैं भी अपना गुजर बसर करता हूँ. तो अपने घर वालों से कहता हूँ कि खामोशी इख्तियार कर ले. वो खामोश से मेरे सामने बैठे होते हैं. ठीक है. तो इस तरह से मतलब हम लोग भी अपना गुजर बसर कर रहे हैं. कोई हम इतने बड़े लैंडलॉर्ड भी नहीं. टीचर्स नॉर्मली आपको पता है ज़्यादा अमीर और नॉर्मल होते हैं वो. ठीक है. तो थोड़ा इस चीज़ का ख्याल रखें. Anyhow, is this clear? So if you analyze, Titanic drama from this perspective, so you'll find that this is one thing that is missing over there. Otherwise, you'll find that और उसके अलावा unity is also very important. Unity of action. यूनिटी ऑफ एक्शन इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि एक अगर इसमें सीन रिमूव हो जाए या एक जो है इवेंट रिमूव हो जाए, सो इट शुड अफेक्ट द होल प्ले अकॉर्डिंग टू ग्रीक। रिमेंबर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ग्रीक ट्रेजेडी, हम किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? ग्रीक ट्रेजेडी, ठीक है। और दैट टाइम ट्रेजेडी वाज और यूज्ड टू बी डन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ पोएट्री। ट्रेजेडी जो था वो पोएट्री की फॉर्म में होता था, क्योंकि उस वक्त बहुत सर्चे का नहीं था। पोएट्री इज अ हाईली एलिवेटेड फॉर्म and that is why they used to have poetry, and they used to they would use पोएट्री इवन फॉर कॉमिक, बट कॉमेडी उनके यहाँ अलग होती थी और ट्रेजेडी अलग होती थी। ये तो बाद में इंग्लिश के यहाँ अंग्रेजों के यहाँ जो है ट्रेजेडी और कॉमेडी इन्होंने मिक्स कर दिया था, बाद जो रियल लाइफ में भी होता है। अदरवाइज दे यूज ओनली ट्रेजेडी और कॉमेडी। अभी भी आप एचबीओ में उनकी कुछ मूवीज देख लें तो आप देखिएगा उनके जो मूवीज होती हैं उनमें फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग टू एंड you will find gloominess, you will find gloomy atmosphere, you will find they have given importance to certain characters, and और जो कैरेक्टर ज़्यादा जंगी होते हैं उनको ज़्यादा अहमियत दी जाती है। So you will find this thing very common with them. So we are talking about Greek tragedy. In Greek tragedy, these things happen.
सर दैट टाइम मूवीज नहीं होती थी ना, वो स्टेज परफॉर्मेंस होती थी।
हाँ, और ट्रेजेडी के हवाले से दूसरी बात ये है कि ऑफकोर्स ये 2000 साल पहले की बात है ना, तो उस वक्त उनका ये कहना था कि मूवीज में तो अब ये ना कि यू कैन फाइंड दैट देयर आर ऑल द थिंग्स ऑन टेलीविजन स्क्रीन, तो पता नहीं कितनी उसमें चीज़ें होंगी जो उनसे गलत भी जाती है, बट ऑन द स्टेज एवरीथिंग इज लाइव एंड देयर इज नो मार्जिन ऑफ एरर। इफ समबडी मेक्स एन एरर दैट विल स्पॉइल द प्ले, तो वो उस प्ले को पूरे को स्पॉइल कर देता था। तो it is very difficult to perform on the stage live. Live performance is very difficult. So here spectacle number 5. But remember Aristotle said he has not given importance to spectacle. उसने कहा आपका जो प्लॉट है वो इतना शानदार होना चाहिए कि उसको पढ़ने से भी आपके अंदर वो इफेक्ट आए। जरूरी नहीं कि आप डिपेंड करें थिएटर पर कि यार वो जब अच्छा कैरेक्टर अच्छा परफॉर्म करेगा तो बात बनेगी, नहीं। आपका जो प्लॉट है वो इतना ज़बरदस्त होना चाहिए, इतना वेल कंस्ट्रक्टेड होना चाहिए और यूनिटी उसमें इतनी ज़बरदस्त हो कि उसको पढ़ने से भी और उस प्लॉट की वजह से जो है वो जो रिजल्ट है, वो जो इसका अल्टीमेट एंड है और एम है, कैथार्सिस वो हासिल हो, ना कि परफॉर्मेंस की वजह से। ही सेड दैट परफॉर्मेंस इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट बट प्लॉट इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट। परफॉर्मेंस को उसने स्पेक्टिकल का नाम दिया है।
जी सर।
Yes, any other question please? Remember we have one more class and I will finish Aristotle, and there are things which are similar to this thing in other in Sydney as well. तो वहाँ पे इन चीज़ों को मैं नहीं करवाऊँगा, and definitely over there when we study Sydney psychology for poetry and others, so I will not give you much time. अभी ज़्यादा वक्त इसलिए लगा because we are in the initial stage and I have to make the concepts clear.
Sir, I think you have not shared lecture number 5's link in
Yeah.
group.
I've shared like the link of lecture number 5 in the group. I shared it I think 3 days ago. Link share किया था मैंने। दोबारा कर ठीक है, I will do it again.
Okay, sir.
Have you all called out your name when I called out your name? So have you all said yes? आप सबने अपने अटेंडेंस मार्क लगा दी? हाँ, आप तो दो ही हैं, ठीक है। Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.